Hey everybody, I'm JimClassic and you are watching Geekin, and for today's video I would like to talk about the Transformers Windblade model kit by Flametoys. I got this at a Barnes & Noble in June 2023, and I've had some delays. I've been wanting to do this for a good long while. As you can see here, I recorded this back when my garage was still in its preliminary setup, so that should give you an idea of the timeline here. Obviously, I thought I was going to get around to this a lot sooner than I did, but I had several delays. But, it happens sometimes. It's done, it's completed, and now I want to talk about it. I started working on this back in Thanksgiving of 2023, but due to the aforementioned delays, which I will get to later, I didn't get around to finishing the model kit until April of this year. As previously stated, Windblade here is a model kit, and I'm pretty much a novice when it comes to model kits. I don't need to get into too much detail here, but let's just say my lack of experience, my sausage fingers, and dropping some parts and almost losing them were not doing me any favors. But my biggest issue was that some of the pieces just wouldn't stay on, so I didn't have much of a choice. I glued some of them onto the model. This is supposed to be a snap-together model kit, and I needed glue to put some things together. My biggest dilemma is, when I was actually done with the model, a piece broke on me. I had to disassemble half of it just to get the piece out. I had to contact Flametoys. I ordered a new part. They sent it to me. It was easy enough to do, but that really did delay me a lot, and it just demonstrated how delicate and brittle some of the plastic might be. At least it gave me the opportunity to take this picture. Anyway, now that we've got all that out of the way, without further ado, let's just talk about the figure herself. And we have Flametoys Windblade. So, this is very much an anime take on the IDW design of Windblade. If I'm not too much mistaken, I do believe Windblade originated with IDW, and then ended up getting her own toy, and, ended up in Cyberverse, and maybe a few other series. So, but she did get her origins with IDW Comics. And this is a pretty cool take on the figure. She's got, I want to say, kind of like a geisha look to her. I think with the fan blade on the back of the head and everything, and the ribbons, and the cool eye makeup there on the face. Got a little lip gloss there, and those eyes are just clear blue plastic, and they look really good. No light piping, so just all that glimmer and shine has just got to come from a direct light source, unfortunately. Now, Windblade came with an assortment of stickers. I only used 3. The Autobot emblem on her chest, and the gold rims where the intake manifolds are. And I did a really lousy job. I think it kind of veered off a little bit. I don't think I got the gold plate on there entirely. There were other stickers for Windblade, but, with these fat hands, it really wasn't going to be easy for me, so I just kind of skipped on the whole thing. But, the obvious thing which I should address before continuing on is the Flametoys Windblade. She's got some sleek curves. The emphasis is definitely focused on her womanly features over her jet parts. For example, she does have a nice hourglass figure, but the cockpit and wings have been shrunk down, so the plain kibble won't distract from the rest of her. The fellas over at Flametoys are a little bit on the horny side, but you know what? Quite frankly, I've seen far worse than this. I've seen far more vulgar female depictions than this. And, I think this is tastefully done. It's not over the top. It just, this is a little bit horny. But anyway, this is the priority of the model kit here. I mean, for those of you who like it, that's terrific. Personally, it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I like her look. I like the female form. I like Transformers. This was an easy purchase for me. But anyway, we see a lot of cool details here, especially around the abdomen. We see a lot of lines and curves and robot stuff. Actually, we don't see a lot of robot stuff. It just looks more like anime body armor stuff. Aside from not using the stickers, I mean, she is mostly unpainted plastic, with the exception of the details around the eyes, and I think here around the chest. I think the blue is painted, and where the ribs are is painted. You know, the small maneuvering vanes are painted, and that's just about it. I think just about everything else is just unpainted basic plastic, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I'm okay with this. The less paint, the less that this could chip and wear out over time. However, Windblade here stands poorly. Those tiny feet are not doing her any favors. I mean, they're supposed to resemble like high heels, and well, I mean, they do resemble high heels, but this figure has virtually no stability. Like, it can be done. It really can. But it's not easy. It would have been nice had Flametoys put a few 3mm holes in the heels of her feet, or maybe something in the back so we can plug in a display stand, but, you know, they just decided not to do it. They didn't think about it. I don't really know. But, you know, as a collector, I mean, you can get her into a lot of cool poses, but good luck getting her to stand. It's just, you know, it is possible. If I finagle this enough... Oh, look, and a piece came off. Well, that kind of sucks, but that pops back on. It is possible to get her to stand and to balance her, but you have to be very careful and very... See? And there we go. There we go. You can get her to stand. Now, if I were to, I don't know, slap my table with my hand, nothing will happen. But if I were to maybe jostle it a little bit, I'm actually surprised. I'm not going to lie. I was expecting her to fall over. How about if I just go... Yeah, there we go. Okay, now she topples over. You have no idea how difficult this was, but it is possible. If Hasbro is making 3mm ports for their retail figures, I'm sure it wouldn't have been a problem for a model kit company to do the same. I might even attempt to drill a 3mm port in her feet myself so she can stand properly. Otherwise, just, you know, good luck balancing her. Windblade comes with 2 sets of hands, 2 grabby hands for her swords, and 2 open palmed hands, you know, for action poses or jazz hands. Speaking of 2 swords, she comes with 2 swords. The blades are made out of translucent purple plastic, and the hilt is red and plastic. They're very thin and a little bit delicate. She does hold them okay with her closed fists, but, you know, at certain angles they will fall out of her hands. Alright, now, we're going to move on to articulation for Windblade. So, we are going to start with the head, and I will say this right now, be a little careful with the head, because those ribbons hanging off of her ears are also very breakable. Along with the torso piece that had broken that I had mentioned earlier, I broke one of those ribbon pieces. I had to get that replaced as well. So, but the ribbons are on little swivels. I'm not moving them. I'm not touching them. There's a reason why I didn't shave down those little nubs there, because they are that easily broken. But anyway, they rotate, but the head is on a ball joint. You can do a full 360 degrees. She can look up really well. She can look down really well. Her neck can bob forward and backwards. She can do a whole chicken neck thing. So that's cool. Her shoulders are on a butterfly joint in there. She can do a full rotation. She can, her arms can go out that far. She has bicep rotation, a beautiful bend at the elbow, and she does have a wrist swivel. It is a little delicate. You can see the cut right there, so the wrist can go up and it can go down. It can go up. Oh, that's right. And I forgot. She has a double wrist rotation. This can also flex as well. So the wrist can go up and down, and even at the ball joint here, the wrist can go up and down. So she has like double wrist articulation, which is kind of crazy. Now, here, right below the bust line, there is a hinge. And you can see the hinge right there. It's a double hinge there, and it also connects up there. There is also a ball joint up there. Unfortunately, that ball joint ain't moving. I should have had the foresight to shave down that ball joint a little bit, but I didn't. And that ball joint is really tight in there, so there is no There is no upper rotation. It's just not going to happen. That's my fault. I should have known better. But, you know, she can arch her back like that. She can go forward like that. Oh, the wing came off. Yeah, we're going to cover that in a minute. She does have a good range of motion in spite of the fact that the ball joint up there doesn't work. Right here below the waist, or right here at the waist of the joint. Or is there? Yes. Yes, her waist can go side to side. That looks really silly. So I never thought I'd have to say this ever, like in a sentence, but Windblade does have butt cheek articulation. It does hinge up there where the hips are. Let's see. You can, you know, they can flex a little bit. They do pop off, unfortunately. So, but yeah, she does have butt cheek articulation. She does have a swinging hip down here. It can allow her to kick up that high, and thanks to the butt cheek rotation, she can go back so she can do the full splits. Her legs can go out that far, but though the body armor does get in the way. And there's even a hinge up there, allowing it to swing a little bit. I forget how. She does have a thigh rotation right there. We have a nice double bend at the knee. No shin swivel, which is a nice change of pace, especially from all those He-Man figures I've been reviewing. Her toe can point. It can flex. Watch out, the little guard there does come off. She does have an ankle pivot, like so. And her toe can flex as well. Ooh, a squirrel just ran over the roof. And her toe can point as well. Moving Windblade over to the back one more time, we see here the cockpit assembly does rotate a little bit, and that is also to help with the arms moving back and forth in articulation. The wings, her wings can flap. Her Windblade's wings can flap, they can swivel, and so can the other maneuvering rudders can also swivel a little bit. Now, moving on to some quality control issues here. As I mentioned earlier, I did break a few pieces, which I had to get them replaced. I already covered that. That was my fault. But some issues? This is supposed to be a snap-on kit. I had to use some super glue to keep some pieces together, like the biceps kept coming off. No matter what I did, they would not stay. I even tried filing them down a little bit, and they would not stay. So I had to super glue some of these bicep parts together. I had to super glue part of her bust together. Because it just kept popping off. And these wing pieces, well, they just come right out. Now, they're not, I'm pretty sure they're not really supposed to come out, but they just come out. They're supposed to just connect right there in the middle, and then, you know, they're just, I suppose, are supposed to just stay there. But they don't stay there. They just keep wiggling on out. And I keep having to just put them back in, and, you know, every time they fall out. It's a little annoying. It gets on my nerves. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, this is not an action figure. I should remind everyone here, this is a model kit. It is not a toy. It can't handle even some of the most basic punishment of a Hasbro retail figure can. So it's these things like the wings will pop off, or the toe will... or the foot guard will come off. Things like that, because this is a model kit. It's not meant for rough play. And, you know, maybe that's just the nature of this type of model kit. I don't know. This is my first model kit of this type that I've ever put together. RC will be my second one. So maybe I might have similar problems with her. I just don't know. But, you know, this is not a toy, and it's just not going to handle the same type of punishment. I tried to keep that in mind, not only when I was assembling the figure, but when I was handling it afterwards, and when I'm handling it right now. It's not a toy, and it's, you know, something's liable to go flying off at some point by mistake. You can get Windblade in almost any pose, and she will hold that pose quite well. So, here are my final thoughts of the figure. Windblade's tiny feet make it difficult to balance and pose her without the aid of a display stand, which does not come included with the model, nor does she have any 3mm ports to allow any kind of stand. Some of the pieces are very delicate to handle, and If you're more used to handling action figures as I am, you need to be extra careful with her. It's a model kit. It isn't supposed to be glued, and yet I had to glue some of these pieces on to keep them together. Windblade's level of articulation, though, is wild. If you can imagine it, you can pretty much do it. She almost kind of scales with many of the Hasbro retail figures, so I suppose you could include her in your collection. At the end of the day, this really was a fun model kit to work on, and I'm definitely looking forward to working on some more in the future. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm JimClassic. You have been watching Geekin, and I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.